Hello and welcome to the Data Career Academy podcast. This is a show dedicated to closing the information gap between data job seekers and hiring authorities about the challenging data analytics job market. My name is Albert Bellamy. I'm the host of the show, and it's my goal to highlight aspiring data analysts and their abilities in order to get them hired, to spotlight recent hires and how they successfully navigated the hiring process, as well as to find out from real industry experts what the job market looks like from the hiring side and how all of that can benefit you, the listener. So let's get into today's episode. Cool. We are here for another episode of Data Career Academy podcast. My guest today is Jennifer Jaurequi, and Jennifer is very special guest today because she is the first person that we've had on the podcast that is a recent hire in the data field. Not only that, she's also a bit unique. So far, we had a recruiter, but the data people we've had have been analysts. Jennifer's a slightly different flavor. She is sort of a data adjacent person. Jennifer, if you please tell us about yourself.
Hi, well, I'm Jennifer, and I do accounting. So I was in a data career bootcamp, but I do accounting.
Awesome. And tell us, where do you work? What do you do?
So I work at Coast Hills Credit Union,
Okay.
and I do accounting there. So what I'm doing in this specific role is I'm balancing their different accounts. So cash accounts and just a lot of like clearing GLs.
Okay. GLs.
General
Not everyone in
ledger.
the audience is as savvy as you are. One more
So
time.
those are general ledgers. So
General ledgers. Okay. I did
wires, things
take
like
some
that.
accounting classes back in the day, so some of this is buried back in the ether somewhere. Okay.
So I'm
Cool.
making sure that the wires and other types of accounts are cleared.
Okay. Excellent. Have not heard of it. Is it how big is the company?
I think I've heard that it's about 400 people.
Okay.
So it's
Neat.
maybe like a medium-sized company, not
Yeah,
small,
nice
but it's
size.
not large.
Regional credit union. Cool. How do you
Yes.
enjoy working there?
I love it so far. I love the people I'm working with, and I love what I'm doing. And I feel like there's opportunity for growth where I'm at. So I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. And so you alluded to, you did do a data boot camp. And I remember when you and I first started talking or maybe talking about having you on the podcast, I asked, do you feel like your experience with the boot camp helped you to get this job? First of all, how long have you had this particular job? I don't think we covered that.
It's about a month now.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so just enough time to kind of figure out the culture. Um, How how did you find that your data bootcamp helped you get the job?
Well, I my background is in was in excuse me, in college I studied math, and long story short,
Gotcha.
I ended up in accounting. And then I thought, well, data analysis. So my interest was in accounting or finance analysis. What I narrowed it down to was in that field. And when I was in this interview, that was on my data experience was on my resume or just like my projects and things like that. So they asked about it, and I let them know that I was passionate about accounting, but also financial analysis. And it's a small department, but they do have a financial analysis department
Hmm.
within finance, which accounting is also part of. So they asked me more about that, and they were really impressed by my accounting experience and knowledge, but also my analysis skills that I have. So, and then I heard from some other people, kind of the grapevine in my department, that they were kind of excited about maybe me automating certain processes. So it's not something I'm doing yet, but I'm hoping later that once I get to know more, I can do that too.
Excellent. And how cool that you got that feedback loop almost immediately that did indeed make a difference for you.
Yeah, I heard it from someone else, not someone who was an interviewer, but just that they were excited about it. I was like, oh, it's good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for the audience at home, this is a point we've made before. Interview teams, they have kind of a vested interest in not giving a ton of feedback because they can really get themselves in hot water for that even with successful candidates, it's just a real dicey thing to get into. Talk to the recruiter that we had on a few weeks ago about that. That can be a very difficult thing, especially even like getting out on social media and talking about it. People really kind of get a little nasty with that. I mean, the job market's kind of cutthroat, and so people get their feelings hurt pretty quick. But yeah, very cool that you got that feedback. So I'm curious, what was it that made you go for the data boot camp in the first place? Was it just a passion for analytics, or did you think that did you have some indication that this was really going to help you?
It was kind of maybe a mix of both.
Okay.
I wasn't sure that at the time I wasn't sure that I wanted to stick with accounting because just the company that I was with, I just didn't really see a path for growth. And
Okay.
so that was part of it, was like at the company I was with before, which was not a bad company, but was smaller and just the focus was different, not really opportunity for as much growth in accounting or data analysis.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, maybe I just need to go to data analysis. But as I started exploring my options, I thought that maybe I will stick with accounting, and I'm actually enjoying it a lot more where I'm at right now because of opportunity for growth and learning. But I still might go into the financial analysis route in the future at this company if it allows.
Yeah, excellent. And great move too. I'm enjoying pointing out all of the lessons that you're touching upon that are really, things that I love to hammer home to people. A couple of them occurred to me, and I probably should have written one down because I already forgot one. But one that's really good is the biggest step is to get in with a good company. And it's not necessarily to get the job title that you want to have forever and ever. It's get in with a good company where there is an opportunity for advancement. And that's great that you've already got an indication that there are jobs available for you, maybe even that your leadership has, sort of dreams of moving you up into eventually, um, already there for you, that you're not going to be capped and kind of stuck on the same team forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, so even more interesting things about you is you came at some point from teaching, yes? Math degree, you were teaching math.
Correct.
How did that evolution happen?
From teaching to accounting or from
Yeah,
what part?
all of it, but
The
yeah,
whole
let's talk
thing.
about teaching to accounting. Sure.
Well, I mean, we might as well start from math to. Okay, so I had heard about data analysis towards the end of when I was getting my bachelor's degree.
Hmm.
And I didn't really know how to get into it. So back when I was a grad or undergrad student, I should say, I I didn't know how to get there at the time. So I didn't know about the boot camps yet or anything like that, or really what data analysis was really about. Just heard of it and found it interesting, data science, data analysis.
Hmm.
But I just didn't know what my next step towards that was. So I ended up, long story short, going the teaching route because I thought, well, I've been a camp counselor before and I really enjoyed the mentorship aspect. But that's with smaller groups, and
Hmm.
teaching is obviously with larger groups, and it's a different situation. So I found out that wasn't for me. And
Yeah.
so at that point, I was just searching for a job. So I think, okay, I'm trying to get out of teaching. I need to look for a job. So that's how I ended up in accounting and found that I really did like it. So that was how I ended up there.
Yeah. What'd you love about accounting?
I guess what I liked was the reconciliation and investigation, and just like it kind of did involve data, not to the extent that I wanted to yet, but it did involve
Mm.
data. So I think that was part of it. Um, Numbers and problem solving, but more in a reconciliation aspect. I liked that too. So I think that's what I started liking about it.
Yeah. There's always a right answer, right? This is not subjective at all. There's a right answer and a wrong answer. You got to figure out how to get to right.
That too. Yep.
Yeah. Um, so math teacher became a staff accountant. Talk to me about the decision to start looking for a job. How did you approach that? And were you still employed right up until you you got hired for this next job?
Yes, back to back, I was employed up until I got this job. I
Yep.
just had a weekend in between, I think, so there was no time at all between the two jobs. How did I start deciding? Well, just as time went on, I just felt like because of the size of the company too and the nature of the company, it was a construction company. I
Hmm.
felt like, well, my opportunities here for growth at this time are mostly just maybe project engineer, coordinator, so more involved with the construction than I wanted to be. So I thought, well, like I am enjoying the accounting aspect of it, but still, what I'm doing here feels limited,
Okay.
except for just jumping straight into management. But that didn't seem like that was going to happen anytime soon. That's kind of a big jump to just go straight from what I was doing to management at
Yeah.
that time. So that was part of it, and yeah. So and I thought, well, we'll see what I find, and then I did the boot camp, and that also gave me more confidence and guidance for how to apply to jobs and completely revamping my resume and everything. So I felt like that really helped me
Yeah.
doing the project. So I just felt a lot more confident with having that mentorship to apply to jobs more.
Okay. So I tend to talk a little bit of trash about boot camps. However, there are good ones, and Avery is a friend. So give us your pitch. What do you think about you did Data Career Jumpstart, right?
Yes, I didn't
Okay.
finish it, but I did start it, and I still want to finish it. But I've just been
Okay.
kind of focused on other things right now, personal stuff and work.
What classes did you do?
I did the first 4 lessons or the first 4 weeks of it, and
Okay.
it's a 12-week program.
Gotcha. All right. And what kind of technical skills were you learning?
Well, I will say that before that, I actually did another boot camp. So I did
Okay.
the UC Berkeley extension one.
Cool.
Great boot camp, but mostly just skills focused. And then Avery's was a lot more, well, it had projects too, but I felt like his projects were way more, I guess, real life or relatable
Yeah.
to employers. So I really liked that about his boot camp. And I feel like it prepared me way more for interviews and kind of talking about my projects with employers.
So you only got through 4 weeks. Did you see my class?
I did. That's why I messaged you and added you. Yours was
That's right.
really
There
valuable.
you
And
go.
then, of course, the link you talked about, and then in Avery's other material too, talked about the LinkedIn and your
Yeah.
brand, and that really helped me too. So I'm trying to think, but like between the boot camps, I learned Python, SQL, and more in-depth Excel, and some other ones in the other boot camp, like non-SQL, Mongo type of stuff. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, so
Awesome.
that's from what I can
Yeah,
remember the
quite a wide
things I learned.
range. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they ask you specifically about any of them in this interview, or was it more kind of tell us about your love for data?
In this interview, they didn't really ask me about the boot camps from what I remember, or they might have. I can't remember, but for sure they asked me about my projects. So in this interview and my other interview, other interviews I've had, I've noticed that they, even if it was an accounting interview versus a data analyst position, either way, I've noticed that if they had a personal connection, that made them even more interested in that project. So this other, for example, had a city bike project, and someone who was interviewing loved biking. So we talked about that. So that's just another thing that I noticed too. And then another one was, oh, the DoorDash project that I had. So
Okay.
those kind of things really piqued their interest and impressed them.
And where did it, so that now that's interesting. Where did they see your projects? Do you have them listed on your resume?
Yes.
Okay. How many do you have listed on there?
Want to say I have 3 to 5, something like
Okay.
that, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And I have
Okay.
my portfolio linked on there too, but
Gotcha.
I just
Do you
have projects listed there.
did you get any indication that they clicked through to your portfolio?
I don't have an indication that they did that. They
Okay.
just talked. So I don't know if they did that, but they talked about it in the interview.
So the questions they asked seemed like they were coming from the resume.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by the barriers to entry because the school of thought seems to kind of go from everybody have a portfolio and it will open doors for you. And what I've seen is they tend to hone in on the things on the resume, and unless you're going for a highly technical role, they don't generally actually look at your portfolio. So good for you keeping the projects on your resume. Awesome to hear that that was a differentiator. Curious to know a little bit more detail about the job search. Were you out there actively job searching, or did this thing kind of fall in your lap?
I was actively job searching and applying.
Okay. So describe your strategy. How were you looking for jobs?
I tried LinkedIn jobs,
Mhm.
didn't have much success with that, had a lot of
Okay.
scam jobs. And then maybe it's also because the area I live in, I do live in a smaller
Mhm.
area. So that might be part of it too. Because I thought, well, if I move somewhere for a job, I don't know where I want to move anyways. So I don't know. So it was kind of hard. And then, but I did apply to jobs on LinkedIn, a lot of scam jobs, at least the ones I got. And Indeed um, was where I got the most. Or I can remember, yeah, it was where I got my interviews, including this one. And sometimes
Okay.
they would
Good to
redirect me
know.
to their website. But yeah, I looked for data analyst, or just like I would just type data and just try to see what came up. Some of it had different job titles that were still relevant. So data, and then I would look for accounting, and I just saw
What's the
what
actual title of the job? Like when you saw the job listing, did it just say staff accountant?
staff accountant.
Okay. But it popped up in a data job search.
No, it popped up when I Googled, I mean, not Googled, when I looked up accounting. So I would look up data
Oh,
and then I would
okay.
look up accounting.
Gotcha. Okay. How many, so let's talk numbers. About how many applications did you submit during the process?
Um, that I don't remember. Maybe
Ballpark's fine.
definitely at least 20, maybe 50.
Okay. All right.
But I
How
think it
many,
was
did you
less
get
for
any
me.
other, you
Oh,
thought it
sorry,
was
go
what?
ahead.
Did you get any other interviews other than this one?
I did get other interviews.
Okay. How did those ones go?
I'm trying to think. They were either good or okay, I felt like. And then
Hmm.
sometimes I'm trying to think what was one that like for example, there was this one that said I was asking for too much in pay.
Hmm.
So that was a remote data analyst job.
Okay.
And so that happened with that one. I felt like that one went well, at least when we were talking, but then, later they gave me that feedback and they said
Mm,
they hired someone else. And then
yeah.
let's see,
Sounds to me like
other
they just didn't know what you
jobs,
were worth.
sometimes I didn't have the exact skills they wanted, things like that.
Okay.
Budget analyst, that was
Did they
another job I
still
looked
call you
for.
in for an interview? So you got some feedback from them. You said that
I
the
was
jobs
interviewed
that
for
were,
that remote data analyst one.
okay. So how many interviews did you go on total?
Mm, maybe 5,
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So 20
maybe
applications,
3 or
20 to
5.
50
Mhm.
applications to 5 interviews. That's a really good hit rate. So either you're searching really well or you're just an awesome candidate.
Thanks. Well,
Yeah.
I think that finance and accounting, or just like even like finance analysts, I got interviews for those too. It was
Hmm.
there's a high need for finance, so finance people.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Good. Hot market still. Yeah. A lot of people out there saying it's a bad job market. Really depends a lot on your specific skill set and if you have a niche. So certainly you coming from a staff accountant position with data training, that is a pretty potent combo. And also obviously knowing your stuff when it comes to the math. That's some pretty good proof.
Yeah.
So during this, let's focus on this interview. This is the one that got you the job. Do you remember what kind of questions you got?
So there were 2 rounds. The
Okay,
first round was in person, and
interesting.
yeah, and then the second round was remote, which I'll go into that one after. But the
Hmm.
first round,
Okay,
um, well, first they asked me, "Tell me about yourself," and
of course.
of course, yeah, and that was always a question I dreaded
So
before, but
just
I got
curious, did you
better.
rehearse that?
I did, not script,
Okay.
but I did have to practice it because it's really hard talking about myself, or
Mm,
like if it's just kind of vague and broad, or I'm on the spot interview because, right, pressure's on, you want to impress them, but then it's like, oh, what do I say about myself, right? So that
yeah.
was a hard one for me, but I got better and better at that as interviews went on. What else did they ask me? Um, They asked me questions. Gosh, I can't even remember. It was very, and they even said it was very informal. They just wanted to get to know me. So I
So
think part of it
behavioral.
was, yeah, so I think part of it was just seeing my vibe. And then, because a lot of people have the experience, I think, but they were trying to see, well, do we like you as a person, maybe to work here? Um, Maybe seeing if they could feel like they could trust me, I think, just that intuition.
Hmm.
But they asked me
How many
what,
people were interviewing you?
there were two people. I was the
Okay.
controller and a senior staff accountant. I just thought of another question though, but I forgot right now. Oh, they asked me why I was looking for a job. So it's
What'd
always
you say?
something they're going to ask. If you're let go, why were you let go, right? Or if you're still at your job, why are you looking for a job? And
Yeah,
so yeah, and I was honest. I said it was for professional growth, and of course they want to know more about that. So I let them know it's a small company, just more opportunities for construction rather than accounting,
perfect answer.
and to
Yeah.
continue
I'm
learning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I love, just want to point out another lesson for the people at home. Jennifer, you clearly know this. You never you never want to say anything negative about a previous employer, previous boss, previous employer, none of it. There is no way to do that and not sound like a whiner. No matter how, even if you did, and it sounds like you had a very positive experience with the previous job, it just wasn't the mobility you were looking for. Folks out at home, even if you've had a negative experience with an employer, with the job process, with anything, don't don't go negative. Okay, you're not a politician. Don't go negative. So Jennifer, you obviously stayed very positive, and that's a perfect answer because that is just, hey, I think you've got something better. In a way, you're almost complimenting them and their company. Just say, hey, I think the job you have is better than the one I have right now. So yeah, you dealt with that perfectly. I actually wrote a couple of things down while you were talking because I didn't want to forget them this time. Number one, love that you said you got better as you did more interviews. You've got to fail forward. I mean, you've got to, not that you went into any interview thinking, hey, I'm totally not going to get this job, but that in hindsight, you understand, hey, it took a process. It was not a one shot deal. And you felt yourself getting better throughout that process. And the other thing that I loved was you said you recognized that they were evaluating fit. And that's just did a whole video of content on that. But yeah, absolutely. That, especially a behavioral interview, they're evaluating fit. They're trying to see if you're like a total weirdo or if you're lying on your resume. That's
Mm-hmm.
most of the fight right there is just be a person that they could see themselves working with. And clearly succeeded like crazy on all of that. So
She told
any
me at the
other,
end of the interview, she
oh yeah,
said that they're inviting me to the second interview. So she told me right up front, right before
yeah.
I left. So that was also very exciting.
Talk about
Another
the
thing
second
she
interview.
asked, another thing she asked was why I wanted to work for them.
Hmm.
So I talked about how, well, because you're applying to so many jobs, right? And so sometimes, even if they're a great company and you're like, of course I would want to work for them. I felt like you need to be prepared for all these type of questions that they're going to ask you, because sometimes if you don't prepare ahead of time, right, you go blank, right? So I feel that's something that
Hmm.
I've come across with different questions I've been asked. So that's one of the questions, right, that a lot of companies will ask. And I said that after looking more at the website and the history, I can't remember exactly the words I used, but I said it pretty well in the interview. But
But you did your
I said
homework.
I was fascinated by their history. They started off to serve the Air Force,
Okay.
or the Vandenberg Air Force. So that was their initial, I guess, membership that they served. And then they grow to serve the community, and they have a great reputation in this community, the Central Coast, California, by the way, if anyone's listening.
Yeah.
Um, and so I felt like they have a great reputation amongst the customers and also the employees that have worked there. So I felt like it would be a place that I would be really proud to represent.
Awesome.
I also
Yeah.
do a lot
Did
of
you?
community volunteers work. So that was something that I told them I'd love to do too.
Cool. Are they active in that? Was that a plus
They
for
are,
you?
yeah, they do. They donate and they volunteer. It's volunteer based if you want to do it, of course, but yeah, to the community.
Excellent. Did they at the end ask if you had questions for them?
They did.
Okay. Did you?
And that's right. Yeah, they did ask that. And one of the questions I had, from what I can remember, was what's the company culture like? So
Okay.
they answered it. I don't remember exactly what their answer was, but they answered it very well. And I also asked them what opportunities for growth there is for this role. And they also
Hmm.
answered that really well. And that's something that not all companies can answer well from what I've noticed and what I've heard too. So, so yeah. And
Can
then of
be a
course, they talk about
tricky
the,
question to ask because
yeah,
it indicates that maybe you're not going to stick in the job too long. So obviously they didn't, they didn't take it that way, but it can be, that can be a tough one to ask. Usually a hiring team wants to hear, I really want to do this job forever and ever. Everybody knows it's not true, but they want to hear that you're going to be there for a while. So obviously didn't, they hired you, so it worked. But yeah, I would say that one for me is a bit of a tricky one to ask. But clearly you had done your homework on the company, so I think they were probably pretty happy. I mean, the only really wrong answer is like how much does it pay, and or saying I don't have any questions. So obviously you knew not to do that.
yeah.
So you said there was a second round of interviews in the couple of minutes we got left. If you can tell us about that real quick.
Yeah. So the second round was remote. And that's because one of the people who was going to interview me works remote. I won't give too much information on that just because then that's
Yeah,
like more their personal info.
sure.
But they work remote, so that was why and they live far away, so that
Mm.
was why they did that. And what was a little not it's not bad, but it was a little scary was they left it very open ended. So it was almost like I had the chance to lead the interview in a way. They maybe asked some
Okay.
questions, it was almost like they wanted me to lead the interview. And another thing that was really hard that I wasn't prepared to answer was why should we hire you? Like you don't know anything about the other people that might be on our
Yeah.
candidate list. So why should we hire you? And so that that was hard for me. I don't remember what exactly I
Do you remember
said.
what you said?
Something along the lines of I don't remember what I said. But then later when my follow-up emails, which
But
I always send follow-up emails right after, I
beautiful.
kind of I kind of hit it in a way, like very, very brief though,
Yeah.
not like a whole paragraph, but thank you for this opportunity. You interviewed me, this and that. And then and a reason I forgot how I said it, I also used
Hmm.
ChatGPT just to make what I said smoother, more
Yes.
cohesive. But this is the point I'm trying to make. This is why you should hire me type of thing. I kind of said it in one line. So I think that also helped too. But
Perfect. Yeah,
yeah.
always follow up, always thank them. Do you have any parting advice for people that are looking for a job right now?
Um,
I know I'm putting you on the spot. 2 minutes left.
it's okay. I can also stay for a few minutes after that, maybe
Okay,
5 more minutes
good.
extra. But gosh, I'm trying to think. I can't think of maybe one nugget. I guess one other thing, I don't know if it's just like the final nugget, but just one other thing I thought of was like for this job at least, I went through all of the job description or posting that they had, and I
Okay.
made sure that I was prepared with an example or a story to say about those things. So, right, you can say I've done it, but think of an specific example. So I can't remember if they asked me what exactly they asked me, but I was ready to talk about anything they asked me that I had a skill that an example I used it.
Yeah.
What's another thing I noticed? Yeah,
Yeah, selling is storytelling. I mean, in all job search, you're selling yourself as a candidate for that job. And what sticks with people is stories. You can sit there and say till you're blue in the face, look, I can Python, I can Python. But if you tell them, hey, there was this sticky problem and I was the only person in the office that knew Python, and so I worked this out and my boss really loved it and it solved this particular problem. If you understand the business relevance, that's going to resonate with them. And if you can tell a story and make it effective and make it compelling, that's what they remember. And even just an interview round where they're interviewing 5 or 8 or 10 people, it can be real easy to forget people if they're not memorable. And so if you can tell a couple of stories that can stick in their head for good reasons, you don't want to tell like your college bawdy stories or anything like that, but Yeah, if you can tell like good professional stories, if they, if there's a little emotional element to them, maybe something like that. But yeah, telling a story that sticks in people's heads. It's how we relate to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Jennifer, what are you, I mean, what are you up to? Do you have an initiative or something? Do you want to pitch anything? Do you want to tell us what good book you're reading? Anything? I should have told you I was, we were doing this, but is there anything you'd like to talk about or recommend to the people out there? Do you want them to connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, go ahead and add me on LinkedIn. I'd love to
Okay,
connect. Feel free to message me if you have any other questions about my journey. But yeah, go ahead and add me on LinkedIn.
absolutely. Awesome. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for being our first guest that is a recent hire. This was very enlightening, and I know that the audience is going to get a ton of good information out of this. And yeah, really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, we had to reschedule this and kind of move it around a little bit because Jennifer and I was traveling and she was coming from work, and it can be tough to work out. So very flexible. Really appreciate us getting this done. Jennifer, you've been a tremendous guest, and thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It was
All right,
fun
everyone.
chatting with you.
Yeah, likewise. All right, and for the audience at home, Semper Fidelis, and I will talk to you later. Friends, thanks for joining me for a great show. If you'd like to hear more, I'll have the guests' contact info in the show notes below. If you'd like to get involved with Data Career Academy and find out more about what we do, please visit my website, themajordata.com. Or you can join my LinkedIn group for exclusive free content and first looks at what I'm working on. With that, Semper Fidelis, and I'll talk to you later.